Welcome back to the Digital Marketing Podcast brought to you by targetinternet.com. My name is Kieran Rogers.
I'm Louise Crossley.
And I'm Daniel Rolls.
And today we are discussing ChatGPT versus DeepSeek versus Gemini.
Okay, so if you've been following the news, the new AI DeepSeek, which is a Chinese-based AI, was launched, generative AI tool, and it caused a huge shock to the whole AI, all the other companies that existed, because they managed to create this model at much, much lower cost and using much less processing power than ChatGPT and Gemini and those kind of things. And it really caught people off guard. And it caused a huge crash in the stock prices of all those kind of technology companies as well. Now, interestingly, a professor that I work with at Imperial College, who I won't name, said to me, "This is nonsense. This can't possibly be true. There must be some sort of kind of dubious behavior going on here. I'm going to buy loads of Nvidia stock." And that immediate moment, he went and spent £10,000 on Nvidia stock. And then the story came out the next day that actually maybe they cheated creating this AI by using ChatGPT in a slightly, illegal way, which hasn't been proven yet, I should point out. But immediately the next day, everyone went, "Oh yeah, I see this trick." And the stock price rocketed back up and he doubled his money overnight as well.
Wow.
So that was a brave move. But we've been quite interested to test it out. And I got a message from Kieran saying, "I've been using it. It's amazing." And I went and had to play with it. So we've done a bit of investigation. But before we get going, I have a couple of little things to talk about. Now, you may be aware of the mug story. And the mug story is we had all these mugs printed and we had all these coasters printed and they've all got Kieran's face on them. And he wasn't even aware we had these things. And he certainly didn't have one of those things. And he was a little bit put out. Then he found out that he'd been sent a hoodie, but it had been sent to me pretty much from Swido. Thank you very much. It's very comfortable. So, fairly, a little bit put out about these things.
Miffed from the
But
Isle
he's
of
now
Wight.
got his own
That's
back
me.
a little bit, because what have you got, Kieran?
Yeah. So I have a hot off the press copy of Daniel Rouse's new 4th edition digital branding
Which I
book.
haven't got a copy of yet. I haven't even seen it. So he's got a copy of my book before I've even seen it.
So made my day. I casually threw in, "Oh, thanks so much for the book." And you're like, "What? I haven't even had that yet." I'm like, "Yes."
So he's got that back. And then another little thing. So that we do a bit of work with the Arts Marketing Association. Lovely, lovely group of people. And the very lovely Carol Jones, who works at the AMA, during a meeting, just dropped into the end of the meeting. "Can we have more Louise, please?" After this was an episode that Louise and I did on our own together as well.
I
like the sound of that.
Lady. So you just want a day off, don't you? That's all it is.
Yeah, I'm all for it.
Now she finishes her emails with hashtag "more Louise, please."
More
It helps that it
Louise.
rhymes.
It does. I mean, she started a thing, so there you go. So on that basis, Louise, we're going to have to book in some more dates for you to have some rants on your own and things like that as well.
We could have rival hashtags. We could have more Louise, please.
Versus
hashtag more Louise. Can Kieran.
Cam Daniel. Yeah, exactly. So okay, let's move on. So just this thing about DeepSeek, I wasn't kind of that sure about it first of all. Having used it, I am very impressed. But we've run a test. So just to introduce, the test that I've run is to go through and I've given the same prompt to ChatGPT, to DeepSeek, and to Gemini, and to see what the results were and try and compare them. But before we do that, before you go running out there to install DeepSeek, Kieran, just tell us, you did a little bit of research and you found some interesting things in their privacy policy.
Yeah, do you know what? It actually wasn't me. I've got to give a shout out to the amazing Matt, who I work with on lots of projects, and it was Matt that picked up on this. Matt is very much a privacy guardian, and he's very, very good on security issues and stuff. So Matt Stacey, if you're listening, which I know you're not, thank you for being brilliant at what you do. But yeah, he spotted that DeepSeek's privacy policy notes that the company collects and will use many types of data to train new models, such as text, audio prompts, feedback, and chat history shared with the chatbot. User account information, personal details, data about users' devices, operating systems, crash reports, keystroke
That's
patterns,
the terrifying bit.
cookies, and IP addresses. Yeah, it's like, whoa, actually, the full 9 yards. So they're not saying they definitely do, but they're there to collect and may use that. that
This was
data.
similar to the TikTok policy that's created all the challenges with TikTok about privacy.
Yeah.
The idea that it can track your keystroke patterns across other apps is like that could you be you logging in? That could be your password potentially. I mean,
Yeah.
it's not saying that specific.
Well, it does say
Yeah.
keystroke patterns. It just actually referenced that. But it also adds that users operating it on a local walled version, DeepSeek sends collected data to servers in the PRC. But if you're operating a local walled version of DeepSeek, it doesn't do any of
And
that
what does
stuff.
that mean? A local walled version?
DeepSeek is open source, so you can actually run it on your own servers if you want to. And you need some technical expertise to do that. I'm sure it's not a touch of the button kind of thing for us mere marketing mortals. But it
Well, I
is
was just going to
possible
say, I was thinking, well, even if you run a local version, is it not, there might be some backdoor stuff in there that's a bit dangerous. But actually, Agent.ai, which we've mentioned before, which is something that HubSpot have created, or one of the co-founders of HubSpot created, where you can play around with AI agents. You can get them to request stuff from each other. And there's been loads of changes. You haven't taken a look, go and take a look at it. You can register for free. But they've actually now set it up so that you can create these agents that do various different tasks, but you can choose which AI they use. So they use ChatGPT, but actually now what they've got is a local version of DeepSeek that you can use on there as well. And they say it's completely secured. It's hosted in the US, and it's good. So they would have gone through and checked all the security stuff on this as well. So I think that's fairly reassuring that local version is a secure thing to run as well. So
Yeah.
interesting.
It's the fact that they're using all these different identifiers to profile users' activity outside of the AI model that raised my eyebrows. It's like, oh, okay.
Yeah, and that's why I would probably use the web
That's-
version as opposed to using the app version. It's not actually installing it onto your device from that point of view as well. The other thing I would say with that is that whenever you're a little bit unsure of the particular app or the particular website, with your passwords, just don't reuse passwords. I got into a terrible habit of reusing passwords to the point Louise would ask me the password for something because she'd kind of already know because I'd used the same password so often. So we use one password, and this, it will generate passwords for you, ridiculously long, ridiculously strong passwords, and save all of those across all your devices. So a little bit of a shout out to one password because it is a great solution. But there is something built into Macs now that will do a similar thing as well. So I went to each of these AIs and I gave it this prompt. And I said, please write an article titled The Best Online Digital Marketing Courses, which is a review of English language online digital marketing learning platforms. Make sure you include targetinternet.com and Google Garage. Include a comparison table of all courses with a comparison of all features and functionality. So that was run. Yeah. So we ran it across the three different platforms, and kind of fascinating results. So when I went into Gemini, they've got this new deep research mode. So I thought, we'll give that a go. So I went into Gemini, and it went off and said, I'm going to look data up, and it listed off 58 different websites it was looking at. I was like, wow, this is incredible. And it said, I'm going to create a Google Doc. So suddenly it created this external doc, and I was getting quite excited about it. And then I opened the doc up, and it had a headline and half a paragraph, and then it had broken. So I then told it was broken. It went, yeah, well, you're right. I'm sorry. I'll fix it. And then it did nothing. And then I ran the prompt again, and it did exactly the same thing. So then I went in and changed the model on Gemini to an older version that's been around for a while, which I thought would be more reliable. And it basically wrote a 4-paragraph article of no depth and really didn't give me it. So it was a bit of an abject failure with Gemini. Now, not to be completely critical of Gemini, but I am finding generally it's less capable. And I've got the pro version as well than some of the other models. And it tends to give you a lot of fake links. So you ask it for references, and I've had some real problems with it doing that in particular as well. So keep an eye out for that one.
I keep getting errors in my Google AI overviews as well. Facts that are incorrect. So
what are the top, the
double
search
check.
generative experience stuff that you get at the top of the Google results?
Yeah.
Okay. I thought they were going to be ramping those up, but if anything, they seem to have ramped them down a little bit recently. So they're obviously experiencing some problems with it, or it's not quite having the user experience that they were kind of hoping for as well. So, okay, so Gemini was a bit of a disaster. We're not going to give up on Gemini, but it seems to be struggling at the moment. Then went through and ran it in ChatGPT and in DeepSeek. And what was really interesting is DeepSeek, and this is something you'd pointed out to me, Kieran, then gave me this extremely long logic of what it was going to do. It told me the thinking process behind what it was doing. Now, what's interesting is ChatGPT 4 and 4.0 don't do that generally. But when you use O1, which is their newest model that's very good at reasoning, there's a little arrow that you can ask it to tell you its reasoning. So I thought, well, that's very similar to that particular version, but you only get that in the paid for version. I then ran it, and what I ended up with in ChatGPT was a summary paragraph at the top. Then it went through, I think it was 8 different kind of online learning platforms. So the Google Garage, the Skillshop, Udemy, LinkedIn Learning, all those kind of big competitors that we've got. And it said a bit of a summary of what it was about. And then it went through and gave the pros and the cons. And then it suggested who it might be useful for. It was really good. I mean, it kind of understood that we had breadth and depth, and we were for like professional marketers, where the others may be a bit lighter touch and so on. So I was pleased with that. And what was really interesting is when I did it in DeepSeek, DeepSeek gave me a summary paragraph. It went through each of the tools. It did it in exactly the same order. It told you the pros and the cons, and then it said who this was for. It was almost the same response. So what I was like, okay, this is remarkably similar. This is living up to this. Did they use ChatGPT to help train DeepSeek? Because that would explain some of the similarities. And I ran it again on ChatGPT, and I ran it again on DeepSeek, and again, the two of them look like the variation of the same answer. So to me, to my external eyes, without the proof of this, it does seem that they've accessed, and apparently the story was they think that they accessed the API of ChatGPT, but they managed to kind of hack it so it was doing it really, really quickly. Now, I'm stating this as a news story I've read, not as a fact, because I don't think there's any proof, and it could be proved completely wrong. But what that means fundamentally, if we look at this, Gemini was a bit of a washout. ChatGPT, the paid for version, was very good, but the free version of DeepSeek is as good, in my opinion, as the paid version of ChatGPT at the time I tested it. So I just think it's interesting that we're seeing this evolution of this, and all these models are really kind of out competing each other to try and give you the best results.
There is a lot of the server is busy. Please try again later on DeepSeek. No doubt.
Yeah, I mean, I think to have the infrastructure that you'd need, because the amount of global interest they suddenly got was quite incredible as well.
Yeah, well, they widely reported they're number one in all the app stores.
Yeah,
right?
I think in January it was the most downloaded app in the iOS App Store.
Yeah,
right.
And I think everybody's testing it out because it's like, well, we love ChatGPT, but if we can save $20 a month and get the same result, it's bye-bye.
My students will 100% look at it and go, a lot of them won't pay for a pay-for account, but if they suddenly have got something that's getting them better results, they'll go through and use that.
What I really liked about this explaining its thinking is that it brings back deep thinking into the process of being creative. One of the things I think we should all recognize is that, the danger is that we don't think anymore, because actually it's easier to just ask the machine to think for you. And it's very, very good thinking things through. And so actually we're not exercising those muscles. And as any, sports technician will tell you, if you don't use those muscles, they waste away. And I think it's a real concern, right? Like what happens if we have a whole generation of marketers who've never actually thought stuff through, or don't actually know the theory? They just ask the machine to tell them what to do, and that's a very, very real danger. So I think that gave me a little crumb of comfort that actually maybe these things can encourage us to stretch our brains.
Well, I was just going to say with that, I mean, you can get the O1 model to do it as well. So what's really good, and the technique I've learned from this is, when you get really good results from one of these kind of prompts, take that reasoning bit that it's given you and then use that as a way more detailed future prompt and keep building on it.
Mm-hmm.
Because what you fundamentally see is that it's kind of told you the way it's going to approach your problem. And there may be things there you like, there might be things there that you want to repeat, and so on as well. So one of the little techniques is that you go through, you do these prompts, you look at the reasoning it's done using DeepSeek or ChatGPT, you take that and you create a custom GPT with it, if it's a repeatable task. Because a custom GPT, is something you're going to do on a repeated basis for doing a particular function for you in ChatGPT. And actually having that level of detail and building on it and expanding on it, I found you can get some really good results out of those things as well.
It just worries me that we're all about to become like those characters in that Disney film WALL-E, where he just sits in a chair. It's like a big lump that just
I'm already
sits in a
like that
chair
already,
and
so I
everything's done
wouldn't worry
for them.
too much.
It's
Yeah.
So
all
I
very
Yes.
Black Mirror coded, isn't it?
yeah, I think the thing is here, did people think this when the abacus came out? Did people think this when the calculator arrived? Oh, you won't be able to do anything anymore. It's just that
Yeah, but I don't think you can argue that the calculator and the abacus had quite as big
no, I'm
an
not suggesting that.
impact on
But
how people are
if you look at the
behaving.
Industrial Revolution, right, when
Yeah.
suddenly all the factories were automated and things like that, well, we'll just be sitting around all day doing nothing.
Yeah.
The reality is it
Yeah.
just evolved and we moved into doing different things and focusing on different tasks. And I think that's already happening. But I do think the amount of tools that have arrived to automate your social media, and it's like, whoa, whoa, whoa. I know you can take it too far and you're just going to pump out rubbish.
Well, it's like I was saying, the job that we recently posted, we had hundreds of applicants and they all had almost identical CVs and like mission statements and like achievements, and everything was written in a certain way. And like hats off to Surfer SEO. It's probably worth including this in the show notes, but they've created a brilliant, like, was this written by AI tool, and it's
Oh,
free.
really? Okay. Because there's a
And
few of them out there, but
yeah,
I haven't seen many free
but
ones.
this is really good, really, really good. And I think because of their SEO background, where they're looking at lots of kind of document frequency algorithms that look at like phrases that occur again and again. Like I think theirs is a little bit more sophisticated. Like a lot of them try and just find phrases that ChatGPT is known to use. This is a lot more sophisticated than that, and it gives you a likelihood of how much something was written by AI. And I think it's a shame that tools like that even have a place, right? But actually, it's kind of key. I think for recruiters, it's really key. There's nothing wrong with using AI, but are people being honest about it? I think that's the key
Yeah,
question.
look, I mean, there's loads of tools out there that will do this. And the thing is, we did some research at Imperial College and they basically said, can you use AI to detect AI generated content? And the answer is, if you're any good at using the tools, no, you can't. Because you can take your content, put it through something else, or add some manual editor to it. And then actually, because the AI is getting better and better at writing like a human, actually, it becomes impossible to do it. So I think there's a skill of using these tools effectively. And I think it's each, right? It's that experience, expertise, authoritativeness, and trust, the Google thing. It's a similar kind of thing as saying, are you actually providing any value to this content? So I'm really interested in the fact that what DeepSeek has kind of switched us onto is this fact of the reasoning and the logic behind it. And there's a new model that's out from ChatGPT, that O3 model, and that's looking at reasoning, but doing it much more quickly as well. So this is obviously a core focus, because that ability to do critical thinking is still important for humans, but it just means we need to make sure that we're looking at the process that the AI is going through in order to create the content.
Read them when you get them, because there are some odd statements that were made in there. Like one of the things it said to me was, I asked it about a particular technique, and it said, "Oh yeah, I remember reading about that in a lecture that I attended." And it's like, what? Wait, what? Well, where's the training data for this come from? Is it actually pulled in and referenced like someone's memoirs?
Well, I mean, that's if it's looking at Reddit and it's
really
looking at
interesting.
books, that it's all those kind of things. Then
Maybe, but it was all part of the conversation. But I've absolutely loved seeing its logic and seeing how it builds its, like, well, before I answer that, I need to take a step back and look at all the different parameters. And it's definitely using anything that you've told it already. Like it will reference earlier questions within the same chat and consider whether that's relevant for the answer it needs to give you.
I mean, from that, one of the things that we picked up from Keywords Everywhere. So Keywords Everywhere has got a load of prompt templates built into it, even the free version. If you haven't installed the Chrome extension, it's one of our favorites. But they've got a new thing now that when you go through and you've got the paid for version, if you have a paid for account for ChatGPT or anything like that, what you can do is you just search in Google. It will show you all the related search phrases, but on the right hand side, it's got a button to launch into Claude or into Gemini or into ChatGPT, and to go through and do you a keyword analysis report using the AI, which is a really nice little bit of functionality as well. So if you haven't checked out Keywords Everywhere, I should say we have no commercial. We talk about this Chrome extension constantly, but we have no commercial association with them. Maybe we should have done. But
Just love it.
yeah, just love it, and it's doing, and they keep on adding to it as well. So I'd take a look at that. I found that to be really useful.
And it's
By
very
the way,
reasonably priced.
it is really, what is it, like $2.25 a month or something like that for the
You
cheaper
just buy
version?
credits, but for what you pay, you get so many credits.
Yeah, it's great. Just before we kind of draw things together, just to say we have got a generative AI masterclass coming up and an advanced prompting one, which I'm really excited about. We're doing loads and loads of research for this as well. So as you're probably aware, Target Internet members have access to all of our masterclasses, and they get all our 1 hour update sessions as well. So if you want to see what we've got coming up, targetinternet.com/live. And you can see all the year ahead of all the sessions that we've got coming up. And they're really nice now because there's loads of people attending, but we're getting a really nice community of people now that are coming to them really regularly. And I should really give a shout out to Brian. Brian is one of our podcast listeners. He is an Australian and he joins these things at 2:00 in the morning almost every single time. So I think
Wow.
that shows a pretty serious level of commitment. So thank you, Brian. Okay, so we're going to keep testing the different AIs against each other, and we'll see how this evolves. And thank you for listening to Digital Marketing Podcast. And you will find all of these links in the show notes, targetinternet.com/podcast. For more episodes, resources, to leave a review, or to get in contact, go to targetinternet.com/podcast.